Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, how you doing? I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. Tonight, we've got quite a bit to cover. We're going to cover some of the GOP debate. We're going to talk about a woman who went AWOL. We're going to talk about North Korea launching a satellite, or rocket, or satellite. Anyway, we really don't quite know what they did. We've got a good on this day in history lined up. We've got a good funny who said that. It's actually kind of facepalmish, if you will. Throw in a little bit of personal stories in the mix. But I want to remind you there are quite a few ways to listen. So just wherever you're at, set this channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do so you don't get left behind. Because if for some strange, crazy reason you miss the show, you'll be able to catch the replay. So just sit tight. There is no need to panic. Because, yes, I've got you. In the case you aren't already following on social media, you can find me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice. Yes, at Stafford Voice. It's the same handle, I believe, over on the Snapchats. I can't remember what it is over on the Instagrams. But if you want to dive into a conversation and you need a little more than 120 to 140 characters, you'll be able to do so over on the Facebooks. All you got to do is just search for the Stafford Voice. And wherever you're at on the interwebs, be sure to give some love to the station and our affiliates, because without them, it makes it really, really difficult to be able to talk to you. Also, you'll be able to stay up to date with things over at thestaffordvoice.com. Again, that's thestaffordvoice.com. Now, so let's just go ahead and dive into this, shall we? Debate. We had a debate. The GOP had a debate. I think they took one of the tactics from the Democrat Party because it was on Saturday night. How many people really, honestly, wanted to sit there and watch the debate? There are so many other things on a Saturday night you could be doing than watching a debate. But I took a few notes, and there were a couple of things that stood out. By the way, I want to introduce somebody real quick. And I can see they're getting ready to walk out here. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ben Carson. Okay, apparently what? Okay, I thought he was coming, but he's not. I'm trying to make light of this situation. Here he is, running. I mean, the guy's a brain surgeon, for crying out loud. Not a rocket scientist, but a brain surgeon. And maybe it takes a rocket scientist to come out on cue onto the stage when your name is called. But I'm a little confused because anytime a production like this goes on, whether it's a debate or any other type of news organization where they're going to bring somebody out, or even a beauty pageant for all the... We've seen some of the interviews and some of the ways that these women answer questions during a beauty contest really makes you wonder how they function daily. But they can still come out and walk on stage on cue. They don't need somebody to call their name. They just know when to go. Ben Carson was told he was going to be the second name called. There is a stagehand back there ushering people onto the stage as their name is being read. Maybe, just maybe, people had a difficult time. I mean, we've all kind of chuckled at the fact that Ben Carson looks like he is asleep at the wheel most of the time. This time, he proved that he was taking a nap backstage. Because apparently he missed all the instruction. When the guy said go, he magically popped out behind the curtain and starts heading down the little hallway, and he stops. And then the next guy comes out, blows right past him. And then the next guy. And so on and so forth. And then Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump did it strategically. I think he did it on purpose, stopping there next to Ben because he kind of felt, I think he honestly, genuinely felt sorry for Ben. It's like, Ben, okay, well, I'm just going to act like I didn't hear it either. And then everybody else walked by, and then it gave them another opportunity to have their name called. A little silly because they were told going into this what was going to be happening. They were told the order that they were going to walk out. There's a stagehand right there at the ready telling them to go. How you screw that up, I don't know. And it kind of set a tone for Ben for the rest of the day because he was completely thrown off. Last week, I had told you that I suspected Donald Trump to have a slightly different tone in New Hampshire. Because he came out of the gate doing the shotgun approach. He played good cop, he played bad cop, he played the, oh, well, fine, if you don't want to do it my way, then I'm not going to play. It's like testing your spaghetti to see if it's done. You take a noodle, you throw it against the wall, and if it sticks, it's done. At the start of the debate, his tone drastically changed from how he was conducting things going into New Hampshire. And even the moderators noticed, and their first question was about his temperament. And I think he handled it really well. What really didn't happen good in a good way was a little later was the back and forth between Krispy Kreme and Ruby Slippers when Christy nailed him on his little canned speeches, his little orchestrated responses. And Rubio just insisted. I mean, it's almost like he was trained. He was sitting there. He was standing there, clicking his little heels, saying, I want to go home. I want to go home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. It was a really bad version of The Wizard of Oz. I love the movie. But Ruby Slippers tried to take a line out of the movie and use it for his canned responses because Krispy Kreme hammered him on it. He did it repeatedly. He said, there you go again. And so what does Rubio do? Like a record that's getting ready to skip, what does he do? He gets bumped, and he starts all over again. And he's like, well, hello, my name is Marco Rubio, and hello, my name is Marco Rubio. It's like, do you guys watch that show, Shark Tank? I love that show. I love watching people get out there in front of the sharks and do their little pitch. They do their sales pitch, and I remember one where the guy starts visibly beside himself. He was extremely shaken and nervous. You could tell it in the tone of his voice. But he starts a little shaky, and he gets maybe 30 seconds into his little spiel, and he freezes. Absolutely stops. Each and every one of the sharks said, you know what, it's okay, just start it over. Start it over, you'll be fine. So, that it was really bad for Rubies, because I can't remember how many times he did it. It was 3 or 4 times, if I remember right, where Christie's like, oh, he did it again. Oh, nope, he did it again. Hi, I'm Marco Rubio, and I approve this message. That was just, I was laughing. I literally was laughing. It was that funny to me. One of my other notes here talks about eminent domain, where they it was a back and forth between Jeb Bush and Donald Trump, where they were talking about eminent domain, and Donald Trump had said, basically, eminent domain is good. Eminent domain is okay. It's good for roads, it's good for hospitals, it's good for parking lots. Okay, no, that was when Jeb Bush called him out. It's good for railroads. It's good for the Keystone Pipeline. Yeah, the Keystone Pipeline, because that's huge. And we'll be able to bring so many jobs. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge. We're going to make America great again. As if America had ever stopped being great. Anyway, so Jeb Bush hammered him on it. Called him out on the old lady in the parking lot. Absolutely fantastic back and forth on that one. And then I thought it was really, really cool that the question of what it means to be conservative. When that question came up, I dropped my pen. My mouth almost hit the floor. I'm like, seriously? Are they asking this question? I couldn't believe it. And, it was a little mixed on their responses. You guys know where I stand as far as what it is to be conservative. It's more than just a checklist of things you can put down on a paper. It's more than a thought. It's more than an idea. It's your entire way of life. But we've covered that in extensive detail. But there was I'm having trouble remembering one of them. But, can't be too important. Remember when your mom would say that, if you can't remember what you were going to say, it wasn't important? I guess it wasn't important. But they talked about ISIS and our rules of engagement. I think we all can agree that we don't have proper rules of engagement. We're basically over there fighting a war with our hands tied behind our backs. And speaking of war, this brought up a pretty heated topic, and it was women in combat roles and whether they should be able to be in the draft, whether we should start drafting women. I'm kind of mixed on this, because if women want to be treated equal, there's this big huge push for women to be treated equal. Now again, I'm thinking this out loud with you guys, and if you're in the chat room right now and you think I'm off base, please call me out on it. But women, there's this push for women to be considered equal with men. They've pushed and pushed and pushed to be able to have combat roles. They've been pushing that for a while. We've seen where female Marines struggle as they try and go into SEAL training or anything like that. We've seen where it was difficult for women to get through Ranger training in the Army. And that's even after we change the standards and lower them. Now, if we've already had to decrease the standard of what was already expected of a soldier in order to do a job, then are you honestly considered equal? I don't think so. If it was expected of me, and this is where I'll throw in a little bit of personal stuff. You guys know that I served in the Army. I served only for 3 years. Personal situation, it didn't work out for myself and my family. We were young, and we needed a way to get started in life. So, volunteering to go into the military and serving my country seemed like the right thing to do. Do not take me the wrong way. 3 of some of the best years of my life were spent in uniform. But if I'm expected to carry 70 pounds on my back, then you better guarantee me that the female soldier that wants the same job I'm doing, she better well be able to throw 70 pounds on her back and march on. So, the idea of having our women sign up for the draft. Oh, okay, yes. Look, we don't have a draft right now. But what do men have to do as soon as they turn 18? What do they have to do? They have to fill out that stupid little card, and you have to register. All men. Women don't have to. Women, it's just voluntary. To serve, that is. It's not voluntary for them to go out and fill their registration card out. They don't have one. Men, it's required. So let's do this. If we want to have this back and forth debate, then we need to create some level of equality, which I absolutely hate bringing the idea up of equality with this. What we need to do is take away that stupid little card that men have to fill out when they turn 18. Take away that stupid little registration card. If you want to voluntarily sign up and fill out the card and have your name picked at some given time, some unknown given time, then by all means, go down, fill out the card. The same should go for women. If you want to be treated equal and you want the same jobs in the military, you need to start acting like an equal. Here's the other side. If you were to turn on mainstream media, do we honestly want our daughters being paraded on TV in a sexually disgusting manner like we know those savages will? Well, what about our men? They do it to our men as well. Do we want to turn the news on and see that kind of stuff? No. But that's the risk you take when you sign up. It's a risk that you take. I'm gonna collect my thoughts here for just a second, and when we come back, I want to dive a little deeper into this topic of women in the military serving in combat roles. I want to talk about that here in just a minute when we come back from a break. We will be right back.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a long
But I'm not the type of guy that jumps into anything without first doing my research. And when I was looking for a holster, I'll admit I was having one heck of a time. You know what I'm talking about here. You find one you like, you try it on, it would be clunky. Another one fits good, but costs way too much. So you try on one last holster, it was slim, lightweight, priced right, but lo and behold, you slide your pistol in, and it falls right out. So what do? You've tried all these mass market holsters. Well, go custom. I know what you're thinking. I thought it too. Too pricey. Wrong. My guy over at Rebel Road Tactical will not only put together the perfect fitting, hand-molded, hand-assembled, custom Kydex holster, but you'll get it at an affordable price. Don't wait. Contact Rebel Road Tactical today at 682-217-4579. Again, that's 682-217-4579. Place your order.
It's the dramatic reinvention of Talk Radio.
Here come the spy dolphins.
The only thing that can cure racism is Robert E. Lee's penis.
Who named this cat Limberbutt McCubbin? A Trump-Biden debate.
Plugs versus rugs. Real serious nonsense. The show's so bad, you'll laugh at us.
The worst podcast. We obviously hold that title.
Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Some crowdfunding sites are too liberal and keep more for themselves. Even worse, if they don't like you or someone gets offended, they'll cancel your campaign. But not at RWNJ Funding. They hold true to conservative and libertarian values. Plus, they won't cave to the PC crowd. More importantly, they believe in you. RWNJFunding.com. The right cause, the right values, done right. RWNJFunding.com.
Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I am your host, Daniel Stafford, and this is the Stafford Voice, where we are, yes, conservative in a world of liberal. Okay, so earlier, before break, we were talking about women serving in the military, and especially in a combat role. This is a very, very difficult and tough topic to fully dive into. But when you look at, if you actually look at some of the facts, here's one here. Just over the weekend, I think. It was either late last week or over the weekend. This soldier turned herself in. Well, who was it? It was Private Erica Lopez. And she went AWOL, absent without leave. She went AWOL after being one of the first women to sign up to become an Army combat engineer. Well, it says Lopez turned herself in to proper military authorities. Oh, it was Thursday night. Thursday night last week. A spokeswoman for Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, had reported and said also in a statement, Private Lopez's unit will look at all the facts and circumstances surrounding the situation and take appropriate action. Lopez was supposed to report to Fort Leonard Wood on January 4th after convalescent leave. She was considered absent without leave on January 5th, when she didn't show. Lopez was dropped from the rolls Thursday, which means she was considered a deserter before she turned herself in. Lopez arrived at Fort Leonard Wood September 22nd, the spokeswoman said, and she started training on October 5th and was on week 11 of training when she was sent home on convalescent leave. Let me first explain this. Basic training is 10 weeks long. After basic training, you have what is called Advanced Individual Training. It's AIT, is in the Army is what they refer to it as. So after basic training, you have AIT, and Fort Leonard Wood happens to be the training facility for combat engineers. The training to become a combat engineer is about 5 weeks long. So in all, you're at Fort Leonard Wood for about 15 weeks. On week 11, she was sent home on a convalescent leave. It's not said why she was sent home. Typically, it would be a death in the family. You could be. There are a host of issues that could cause you to be sent home on a convalescent leave during basic and AIT. Last year, about halfway into the year, into 2015, the Army opened up the 12 Bravo MOS, military occupational. They opened it up to women to be 12 Bravos, combat engineers. I happened to be a combat engineer when I was in the Army. Well, so the fact remains, she was allowed to go home. She was sent home. Reasons we don't know. However, she was supposed to report back let's see, she started training. So she was supposed to report back on the 4th of January. They don't say how long her convalescent leave was. On January 5th, when she failed to present herself in formation, she was considered a deserter, or AWOL, I'm sorry. Well, after the 30 days had passed, she was considered a deserter, but she turned herself in. I have just a little bit more respect for her for the fact that she turned herself in. Do we know all of the details? No. What does she stand... What is she getting ready to see as a result for a punishment? Well, the maximum penalty for peacetime desertion is a dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of all pay, and imprisonment for 5 years. Well, what's the story before the story? This comes back from a local Tennessee news, from the local Tennessee paper that was her hometown, and it says, this is the way that they wrote the article. I'm not embellishing on anything. It says, sometimes the most important things we ever learn catch us by surprise. Of course, we always see the basics coming. Rules like respecting others and doing well in school. But the way that Erica Lopez is teaching this one might just throw her 2 sons through a loop. Quote, this is from her. It doesn't matter how old you are or what you've done in the past, you can always make something from what's happened in your life. What happened in her life? Well, she had her first son at 16. She has 2 children. She gave up her role as a housewife and enlisted in the Army as a combat engineer. The report goes on to say the job she chose was a first for the Army recruiting office in Knoxville, and the man who runs it, Sergeant First Class Ellis, says, quote, she was very excited about it. She said, hey, that's what I want to do. She came into the Army to better herself and set the example for her family. It went on to say, it makes me feel really excited that no woman has ever done it before. Then it says, come September, Erica will leave her 2 boys and ship off for basic training, where she says, quote, you make sacrifices for your whole life, for your children and for your family. This will be a sacrifice. But what is the role of a combat engineer? You go out, you build bridges, you blow up unexploded ordnances, you deal with landmines, you clear buildings, you blow a lot of stuff up. But you know what? You willingly signed up for it. You knew going into this that it was tough. I did. I was in a similar situation. An extremely similar situation. When we had our son at 16 years old. We made it through high school. We didn't quit. We didn't give up. Was it tough? Yeah. But together we made the tough decision that we needed to do something for ourselves, and we needed to set ourselves on a path So we weren't dependent upon anybody else. So I went into the Army. It was tough, but rewarding. There were actually a couple of times where I remember laughing. Because I had the mindset that you do whatever you want to me, you're not going to break me. So the more they tried to push me, the more comedic it felt at times. But it was difficult. I didn't want to give up. Now, mind you, the whole time that I was in the military, my mother was going through breast cancer. I came up on orders to go to Korea, to be stationed in South Korea for 13 months. And I put in a request to stay stateside anywhere they wanted me to go stateside. Because things were not looking good for my mom. I spent countless weeks gathering all the documentation from doctors, lawyers, saying, please keep him here, stateside, anywhere you want, stateside, that's fine. Military said, nope, we need him here. Okay, fine. We went. I say my wife and son had to stay here. But I didn't quit. It would have been easy to run away before going over there. It would have been easy. But that's the chicken way out of things, is to just quit. If you're not willing to fight for it, you should have never done it to begin with. She gave up not on her country. She gave up not on herself, but she gave up on her family. First and foremost, she gave up on them. Second came herself. Last came her country. You don't just give up because it's tough. So women in combat roles, is it an easy thing to talk about? No. Does it require a little more attention? Yeah, I think so. I think it needs to be talked about. I also think that we need to talk more about what we can do to avoid confrontations so we don't have to send our men and women in harm's way. I realize that that's all part of it. That's part of life. But I think the discourse can still be there. I think it's important. Sticking with the military theme. And I didn't honestly set out to talk about military stuff all night. But I want to remind you that North Korea launched a satellite. They're calling it a satellite, but really it was a rocket. So, what really happened? Well, 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday in North Korea time, which was 7:30 Eastern time here on Saturday, just shortly before the debate, they launched a Kwangmyongsang carrier rocket, and it only took them 9 minutes and 46 seconds after liftoff to reach orbit. Now, one North Korean state broadcaster said, quote, "We hope that the future of our space technology keeps growing and shines like these fireworks in the sky." You see, they think that, and I'm not saying that they actually think this, but because they're paid to say what they say. If they don't, then they risk dying. But North Korea thinks that this was a good thing. And any other country probably would have thought the same. However, was this a success or not? Well, it is confirmed that the United States is monitoring its orbit. So, yes, they successfully launched this quote-unquote satellite into orbit. We are keeping an eye on it. But what does this really prove? You have to remember that the Kwangmyongsong rocket is dual purpose. It serves two missions. One, to be a carrier rocket where they can put things on it like satellites. They can fire it up, send it off into orbit, or they can arm them with a nuclear device. This dual-purpose rocket is really similar to the intercontinental ballistic missiles, the ICBMs, that Russia and the United States used during the Cold War. But this proves North Korea's power of delivery, because we cannot forget, it was about a month ago that they were reporting a successful test of a miniature hydrogen bomb. This rocket that they used is fully capable of carrying a miniature hydrogen bomb, and it is fully capable of reaching the United States. They could take out any part of Alaska they want. They could take out 3/4 of Canada. Roughly half of the United States has the opportunity to be hit by this Kwangmyongsong rocket. And as a matter of fact, while everybody was sitting there watching the Super Bowl, having a grand old time, you know what flew overhead of the stadium? Yeah. This little satellite that they sent off into orbit. We really need to be paying attention to what we do when we go and vote. It starts at your local elections. Then it goes up to bigger elections, statewide elections, and ultimately the president. Do you really want a hot-headed, temperamental person with their thumb on the trigger, or do you want somebody that can protect us from people like this, from nations and country and people like North Korea or Iran? or China. I think instead of getting caught up in all the hoopla of who's winning and who's losing in the polls, we really need to take a good look at who the candidate is and what our geopolitical issues are and who do we want to best represent the United States for the next 4 to 8 years. It's a big decision. It really is. Now, I want to take another short little break, and let's do, you know what, let's do On This Day in History, and then let's have some fun with Who Said That. I really liked this person up until the other day when I think it proves that drugs really do have an impact on one's mental capacity. You'll understand a little later. So when we come back, we're going to do On This Day in History and some Who Said That. We'll be right back.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
Lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty-conservative conservatism.
Where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
round.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whether you're an employee or business owner, when it comes to the correct course of legal action, it's the first step that is important. And make that first step with attorney Ted Hong. You need someone you can trust and has the experience you need when it comes to workplace and employment law. If you've lost your employment due to discrimination, false accusations, or being denied benefits, you need Ted Hong. Or if you're an employer who wants to ensure compliance with workplace regulations and labor contracts, you need Ted Hong. Ted and his team also cover family and property law and estate litigation as well. Ted has over 30 years of experience, and him and his amazing legal team will provide you cost-effective legal consultation and make the experience all about you and your needs. For more information or to set up a consultation, contact the law office of Ted Hong at 808-933-1919 or visit tedhonglaw.com. Ted Hong, an experienced and principled attorney you can trust. 808-933-1919 or tedhonglaw.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford. This is the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. Okay, on this day in history, this is one of my favorite segments to the show, and judging by everybody who has filled out our little survey over at the staffordvoice.com, and by the way, it's really, really easy. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to answer 5 simple little questions to kind of give me an idea of what you like and dislike about the show. And a majority of people agree On This Day in History is one of the things that they really do like. And I'm kind of personally attached to this one. Taking politics aside, this one's really cool. But nonetheless, originally getting its start in 1907, Robert Baden-Powell founded the scouting movement in England. However, in 1909, a Chicago publisher named William D. Boyce lost his way in a dense London fog, and a boy came to his aid, and after guiding him, he refused a tip, explaining that as a scout he would not take a tip for doing a good turn. This gesture by an unknown scout inspired a meeting with Robert Baden-Powell, the British founder of the Boy Scouts, and as a result, William Boyce incorporated the Boy Scouts of America on February 8th, 1910. That's tonight, on this day in history. So, let me explain this. This is really what's interesting, because over time, the stated mission, even though the stated mission of the Boy Scouts of America has, for lack of a better term, evolved over the years, taking politics out of it, it is actually a great and honorable program. I'm saying that because I have volunteered with a local scout group for 6 or 7 years, and there is nothing more rewarding than going out and teaching these boys and young men some skills that, if they never use them, they know that they will have something to fall back on. There are so many things that some of my scouts would tell you about that they never thought they would ever need to know, but later on, they needed to know it. It's incredible. I mean, the scouting program it really is a great, great program. I have so many incredible memories. And I'll share one here with you in just a second. But I want to touch on their stated mission throughout the last, since they've started, basically. So in 1910, their stated mission was to, quote, teach boys patriotism, courage, self-reliance, and kindred values. And later in 1937, its mission was to, quote, each generation as it comes to maturity has no more important duty than that of teaching high ideals and proper behavior to the generation which follows. And now the current mission statement is, quote, to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. Well, what is the Scout Oath? If you're not associated with the Scouts, let me let you in on this. It's, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. The Scout Law is simple, but very powerful. There's so much to be learned from this. A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Let me give you a short, quick little story. A couple of years ago, every year we would take our scouts on what's called a high adventure. And basically it's like an extended camping trip. And we would take our scouts out on like a 5-day camping trip. And one of the ones we did was, and this was my idea because I like to backpack. It kind of goes back to my Army days. Well, we went down to Arkansas. We went through the Wichita National Forest, And our goal was to backpack the 30-mile loop. We were planning on covering roughly 10 to 12 miles a day. We thought that these boys thought that they could handle it, but it proved that if you don't put the hard work into things, the reward isn't always going to be there. But there wasn't a single one of those young men that complained. They had blisters on their feet, on their shoulders, on their backs from carrying their packs. They never once complained. Not once. And in the end, they all came up to me and they said, you know what? Even though that was hard and we didn't quite make it, that was one of the best trips that we've ever done. I personally learn a lot from them. Its scouting program is incredible. Now, we are quickly running out of time, so I want to jump into this real quick. That's right, it is time for Who Said That. If you're new to what Who Said That is, it's a short little segment where somebody out there says something incredibly stupid and proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are stuck on stupid. Doesn't matter if they're a Republican or a Democrat, even a liberal or a conservative, or even those hardcore libertarians out there. Yes, anybody at any given moment can say something so stupid it removes beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are stuck on stupid. This week is no different. You just have to hear it. This really is bad. Check this out.
To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. Smells fresh. The political season is starting to heat up. The sun's coming out and all our plants are beginning to bud. Do you smell that excitement? That's the polling places opening all around the country. It's time to vote, folks. So the question is, which one of these plants are ready for harvest? Some are obviously too immature. They need a couple of more growth cycles. And yet, others are done, finished. There's nothing left in them. They've lost all their potency, which they never had much of anyway. But there's one candidate that stands head and shoulders above them all, who has weathered many storms and is totally ready to be the commander-in-chief, or the commander-in-cush, as I like to say. Only one candidate this year that has said things I truly believe in, like supporting the legalization of a fair and humane immigration policy, something that Donald the Wall Trump would never support. The legalization of a real living wage. The legalization of equality for all. You get my point. Oh, and yes, Bernie does support that other form of legalization that I care so deeply about. The legalization of the super medicine, marijuana. So I know this year, you and I are going to feel the burn. Go up to the polling booths and light up, man, for progress and change. See you soon, America. We got to do what's right, man. I'm Tommy Chong, and I approve this message.
Yeah, man, so seriously, wait, Dave's not home. No, man, Dave's not home. Oh, Tommy Chong, listen, you're proving why we don't need to legalize marijuana. You just proved why. You've smoked all your brain cells away. I'm sorry there, I've said it. I don't have anything else to say about that. You guys have listened long enough that you know how I feel about that. But, yes, that is all the time we have for tonight. And God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back Thursday. Same bat channel, same bat time, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. You can follow me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice. Look me up on Facebook by searching for the Stafford Voice. Email your questions or comments to thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Thank you and so much for your time tonight. And until next time, thanks and God bless.